Hey everybody, it's GomletX and welcome back to another Chromatic Cube draft, what is going to be the final Chromatic Cube draft as we have the Battle for Baldur's Gate early access event tomorrow, so the brand new draft format starting tomorrow. Without further ado, let's just hop into the final draft, see if we can give the Chromatic Cube the swan song it deserves, and see what we want to take out of this final pack. Now, if you've seen yesterday's video, you'll know we did pretty great with a mono black deck. I am kind of interested in sticking to maybe just 2 or 3 colors again here. We did a couple 5-color decks at the start of the cube and kind of pushed our way more towards just 1 to 3 color decks in the end. And I think that's been working pretty solidly for us. I do like Kogla the Titanape a lot in green. This is one of my favorite mono-ish color cards in the cube, as it's a pretty big 2-for-1 every time, a massive threat that also destroys their best creature when it enters the battlefield if that creature has less than 6 power, and can even blow up artifacts and enchantments every time it attacks. So this can do a lot of work if it isn't immediately removed. So I think Kogla the Titanape seems like one of the strongest cards in this pack, and a solid place to start here for potentially doing another maybe not completely monocolored deck, but definitely a deck that's going to be heavy into one color, heavy into green with Kogla. Pick 2 now, we have Nissa for staying in green. She's solid, but she's one of the slower planeswalkers. She can get that 5/5 land up and ready to block for her. But other than that, she starts drawing a card every turn if you make it to the emblem, or she can return cards from your grave to hand. Not a massive impact for 5 mana, a bit slow. I do like Fabled Passage a lot since that is solid mana fixing to go into any deck. Cloudblazer is one of the strongest cards for the Flicker deck. Not too much else in this pack that's particularly exciting to me. Courier's Briefcase, just not that exciting because there's just so many really strong 5-color payoffs. I'm not super into the Briefcase. The cool thing about the Briefcase is it's an enabler and a payoff by being a treasure token. But I think I'm just going to take Fabled Passage here. This pack is not that exciting. Now we are in pick 3. We've got Armingala, which is one of the busted alchemy cards. This is Broker's Ascendancy, where you're buffing your whole field with a permanent +1/+1 every single one of your end steps. But with this card, you're also buffing every single creature in your deck and in your graveyard. So if you top deck creatures late game, even after your opponent has blown up the Armingala, it will still have accomplished its goal and made your cards a lot stronger. Gonti's always fun, playing cards out of your opponent's deck. Rada is a pretty nice little card draw engine in red-green, allowing you to play lands off the top of your library, so essentially draw a card whenever there's a land on top of your library, since you get that land out of the way. Not too much here. I like Armingala and Rada a lot for this green deck. I think I'm going to go for Rada here. I don't think we've done just pure red-green yet. That could be a pretty fun strategy, and we got a really powerful red card in this pack, the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. You get a 2/2, then you discard up to 2 cards and draw that many cards, then you get another 2/2, the second 2/2 of course being a Kiki-Jiki, so it can make clones of your non-legendary creatures until end of turn, an incredibly powerful card. For 3 mana, 2 2/2s, one of which has a ridiculously powerful ability. Super sweet stuff. Mirari's Wake's a lot of fun too. Really, really fun enabler that lets you just play massive, just X mana spells or just like 9 mana spells and stuff pretty easily. But I'll take the Fable here. Go for a pretty aggressive looking red-green deck, and Robber the Rich is going to fit in nicely here. We can just curve out with some solid 2/3 mana creatures, and then our late game top end being a bunch of big green monsters like Kogla the Titanape seems like a pretty good deck strategy. Make our opponent have to use all their removal and their blockers to just survive the early turns, and then play something really hard to beat in the late game. Alright, pick 6 now. Tireless Provisioner is a really flexible card. I enjoy this a lot in the early game. Every time you get a landfall trigger, you get a treasure token, similar to like a Lotus Cobra. And then in the late game, you can start just getting food tokens to make sure you can keep gaining life and keep your life total high. Chatterfang is nice if you are in a token kind of deck. Also, the Forest Walk is pretty good in this cube because there are a lot of people who do like playing their 5-color-ish strategies, and they're probably going to have forests, so Chatterfang can be unblockable a solid amount of the time. I think it's probably between Chatterfang and Tireless Provisioner, but even Storm the Festival is a pretty fun, big, explosive late game card like Kogla the Titanape here. Getting any 2 permanents with mana value 5 or less from among the top 5 cards of your library into play is pretty strong. I think I'm going to take Provisioner here. Maybe I'm taking the card a little highly, but I do really like the Lotus Cobra style ability of getting a treasure on every landfall trigger. Nothing in here for a green-red deck, so what other colors do we speculate on? Siege Sling Gang Lieutenant and Multiple Choice are both pretty solid in their own decks. Well, they made Shestra cheaper in the Alchemy version. That's kind of interesting. Doesn't seem massively good, though. Join the Dance is fine for a token deck, I guess. Or there's some off-color lands. Maybe if we become like 5-color out of nowhere in the end, these lands could be helpful. I don't know. I'll just scoop up a land, I guess. Pick 8 now. We see a red-white pathway, not super useful. Krenko's a pretty powerful 3-mana creature. It needs to get killed pretty quickly or get blocked pretty quickly, or else it's going to become just insurmountably large, and it creates an entire army every time it's attacking later in the game. X1/1s where X is its power. Krenko's pretty strong. Pick 9. It is our final Chromatic Cube draft, so I could try to actually cast a Zakama. Really no biggie if I 0-3 this one. This is just the final draft. Could maybe try to do some fun things like that. Yeah, nothing else in there for our green-red deck. Briefcase is just fine. Temple of Triumph helps us splash the Zakama, I guess. Yeah, not massively into the briefcase. We'll take the Temple of Triumph. And then a Temple Garden. Well, might be an easy white splash now. That's 3 white sources already. Temple of Triumph, Temple Garden, and then 1 Plains with a Fabled Passage. That would actually be like 4 white sources. Really late Soul Herder. That's pretty wild. Nightmare Shepherd pretty late too. Commence the Endgame I've also had good success with. I'm just going to get this Soul Herder out of here, I guess. Very unlikely to play any of those cards. Unfortunately, looks like we're getting cut off green-red at the end here. No, not the end of the world. We get a green-red Chapland we can cycle for 3, or we get Zerial. Just take the Zerial here. I'm not a massive fan of non-basic lands that always come into play tapped. I really like the check lands, like Dragon Skull Summit, because they can come in untapped quite often, and I really like the shock lands coming in untapped whenever you want them. Non-basic lands that always come into play tapped are a little bit of a harder sell. So the Triomes, like, I'm all over the Triomes if I'm 3+ colors, but if I'm just 2 colors, so the Triomes just going to be comes into play tapped and I can cycle for 3 for just my 2 colors, definitely much lower on the Triomes in a 2-color deck. Far prefer untapped lands there. So we didn't open up anything super good for a green-red deck. Beast Whisperer would be fine, a way to keep us fueled as we're casting our creatures, but that is literally it. If we want to take a white card here for our white splash, it could be like Brutal Cathar, removal spell, and a creature all in one. Adeline is much less splashable because she requires 2 white symbols. It'd be hard to do. I think I'm just going to take Beast Whisperer here. I'm pretty tied to Jund. I probably shouldn't be if I'm just trying to win, but I really want to play just a Jund Monsters deck to finish it off. Just play some beat sticks. Our deck is almost entirely creatures right now, and I'm all for it. Alright, so we have another red-green Triumph, the Jetmir's Garden. We also have big Game Ender and Raise Forerunners, or the removal spell of Perforos's Intervention. Deal twice X to a creature planeswalker, so 3 mana, that's 4 damage. 4 mana, it's 6 damage. Not a bad deal as a removal spell there, the Perforos's Intervention. But I think I just like the big pig. This card is really fun. Really good at ending games if you have a lot of mana dorks. If we start seeing any of the 2-mana green mana ramp cards, like the Elysian Caryatid that we passed up on in the first pack, we're going to start scooping up those because they're going to work really well with cards that buff our whole field like the Forerunners. They just help ramp into our big plays and all of a sudden become part of our win condition if our win condition is to attack with a really wide board of creatures. Oh, this is actually kind of a difficult choice. I think I go with Rahilda here because the really powerful 2-mana cards are just not very replaceable in this cube. There's just not a ton of them. The ones that are here are really powerful, like Rahilda and Robert the Rich, but we have to take them when they show up because there just isn't a lot of quantity, even if there is quality. So I think I'm going to take that, but what makes this decision difficult is that Cabaret Revels has been an absolute house. Every game that I've played with or against it, just every time you cast a creature, you seek a random creature with less mana value from your deck and just put it straight onto the battlefield. It's like a Beast Whisper amount of value where you're drawing a card whenever you play a creature, but except instead of just drawing it to your hand, you're putting it right on the board. That just makes your board so wide so fast. Cabaret Revels is kind of nuts, or at least has been for me. I like Electrostatic Blast here, but it is possible that we could take Jetmir and splash it in. We do have those white sources. They are all comes into play tapped white sources, but still. I guess they're not. We do have Temple Guard for untapped, but Temple of Triumph and Fabled Passage will often be tapped. I don't have any just straight interaction right now, anything that just straight up removes an opposing card except for Kogla. So I'm going to take this Electrostatic Blast here, get rid of our opponent's early game 2 toughness stuff. Now what do we have? Ooh, Ashaya is really fun. Ashaya is just always a really big threat. All by themselves, Ashaya is a 5-mana 6/6 pretty much, because you tap 5 lands for this, and it is a land as well. So that's 6 lands on your board, 6 power, 6 toughness. If you have any other creatures, Ashaya gets bigger faster, and Ashaya just randomly shuts off a lot of random removal. There's a lot of removal spells that are just like destroy target non-land permanent, and sometimes your opponent can just have those stuck in your hand when you have an Ashaya on board, and it's really rough for them. I know, because I've faced off against an Ashaya and tried to use my removal that's destroy target non-land permanent to kill their creatures, and I'm like, oh, can't do that, I guess I'm just dead. I like Beanstalk Giant. It's a fun card. Get those Fertile Footsteps to get a land, and then it also gives you that late game creature in exile to cast for later. Atali's pretty comparable to Beanstalk Giant. I think Beanstalk Giant is a little more flexible, but both of these are like the kind of cards that they're going to hit the board as just a really big creature that isn't going to do anything until we get a swing with them. Atali does more explosive stuff once Atali attacks, but Beanstalk Giant's kind of got the 2 spells in one thing going for it, so I'm going to go for Beanstalk Giant over Atali. But Atali is a really fun, really powerful card, definitely in Commander. If you're playing any Commander decks, highly recommend putting Atali in like every red deck you have, because it's incredibly cheap and incredibly powerful in multiplayer. God Eternal Ronoth seems like a real easy, real solid pick here. Double the power of all of your creatures until end of turn and give them Vigilance. So just get one really big swing in for free because you still get to hold up all your blockers. Pretty big fan of God Eternal Ronoth. Maze Mind Tome is a super solid 2-drop because there aren't a million great 2-drops in the cube, so this is one that can fit into any deck and do it pretty well. Just do some scrying, do some card drawing, set your plays up. We're not going to have enough instants and sorceries to make use of the Young Pyromancer, so Maze Mind Tome it is. We have wheeled pretty much nothing here, but that was to be expected. There was like 1 green card, or 1 red card, I don't remember which, in this pack. There was another white card that was easier to cast, but I don't remember what it was. It's gone now. Oh, Brutal Cathar. Yeah, we'll just take a Gonjo, I guess, if we do the white splash. Now, we did wheel the Perforos's Intervention. That's not horrible. Like, when you do the math on it, 3 mana for 4 damage to a creature planeswalker, 4 mana for 6. Not horrible. Could get played in here. Reclamation Sage is nice. Decently main deckable way to blow up artifacts and enchantments. Definitely good if your opponent's playing white, because all their removal are just enchantments that sit on the board, and if you blow up the enchantment, you get your stuff back. We wield the Jetmir, so if we did want to splash that Jetmir, we still have that option, and now we get to take Siege Gang Commander here. I'm not going to go for an Obosh deck, although that is something you could try to draft. We did draft the All Evens deck with Gyruda one time, and that worked pretty well. I guess we could play Fiend Artisan double green. We could also play Eater Virtue. I don't know. Well, Bone Splitter. Crypt Creatures +2/+0. Nobody's going mono black here. If I could just go back in time and give myself this Grey Merchant in my last deck, I'd be so happy. But that draft still worked out pretty well for us without a Grey Merchant. So now we have pack 3, pick 1. Escape to the Wilds is just a really, really massive draw spell. Late in the game, draw 5 cards for 5 mana, and you get to play extra lands. You only get to play those cards the turn that you play this and the turn after you play this, but In green-red, especially when you're playing extra lands, you can play enough of those cards for that to be real good card draw in the color pair, because they just don't get a lot of it. Seems like a pretty easy escape to the wilds to me. Finale of Devastation's fun, powerful. Sheltered Thicket would be fine in here, but it is one of those dual lands I'm not a huge fan of because it always comes into play tapped. And then Dire Strain Rampage is just weird and probably not playable. Okay, no Torrential Gearhulk. I think this is legitimately probably like the strongest card in the cube in my opinion. This card's just ridiculous. It is obnoxiously good. It flashes in out of nowhere, so it's going to kill whatever they're attacking with in combat, and you're casting any instant from your grave for free, and the blue-red instants that they put in this cube are insane. You could cast Sublime Epiphany for free, and you just win the game if that happens. Same with if you cast Magma Opus for free, tons of stuff like that. So Torrential Gearhulk's insane, and it's kind of sad to see that here. So we could take Stomping Ground for a red-green dual land, or we could take Domri. We don't have a lot of removal, so just being able to fight things seems powerful for us. So I'm going to take Domri here. I'm just not going to take mana fixing that highly, because I think we're sticking to literally just 2 colors here. And we are not doing super well on the removal front. Could take a Golos here, but we're never going to use the second ability on Golos, so Golos isn't that strong in this deck. Toralf's Disciple would be fine in here, but we already have a ton of 3-mana stuff going on. Ravenous Scroll wouldn't really do anything. That's about it. I guess we could take Godfarrow's Gift. This is an okay late game card if you know that you're always going to have creatures in grave by the time you cast it, because it does immediately get you a 4/4 haste out of your graveyard, and then it keeps doing that every single turn. It doesn't seem that good in this cube though. It seems really fun in those self-mill kind of decks. I'm just going to go for Toralf's Disciple. Now we've got Lightning Bolt to burn down the house, or Combustible Gearhulk. I think much more looking for Lightning Bolt, burn down the house type cards, more interaction still. Like having a Wrath effect, because the board states in this cube can get really wide a lot of the time. So just having the option to deal 5 to everything is nice, if we're not in the lead. But Lightning Bolt is so efficient. 1 mana, instant speed, 3 damage. Really rough choice between the two. I'm going to take the Lightning Bolt. Now we have Fauna Shaman, one of my favorite green cards ever printed, one of my favorite creatures ever printed, and the first time I ever cast this card in my life was in the original Arena Cube. This is just such a nice card for always setting up and pulling out exactly the creature you need at all times. This is the card I'm going to take because I'm just in love with it, but Professional Facebreaker would be great here. Cardra Engine Atsushi would be great. It fits into our curve well where we don't have any 4-mana cards right now. It's just a big, scary game-ending 4-drop. But I'm taking Fauna Shaman. The card is just so fun, so flexible, making sure every creature you draw just turns into exactly the right creature for whatever scenario you're in. Maybe they have a powerful artifact or enchantment, you pull out your Reclamation Sage. Maybe they have just a big creature, you pull out your Kogla. Maybe you have a ton of mana, you just need to end the game and you top deck a late Llanowar Elves. Now you're pulling out End-Raze Forerunners instead. Such a good card. I'm going to take Llanowar Elves here though, this time. Just a nice little mana ramp creature, very classic card. Everybody knows how good ramping up your mana turn early can be. Now we have Gigantha that we can't play as a companion, so that's a no. Pool of Vigorous Growth, just too slow and weird. Magmatic Channeler, also kind of slow and dirtily, so Cavalier of Thorns, I suppose. Another big dorky green drop, 5 mana, 5/6, pulls out another land. Mills us a little bit. Giant Regrowth is our only on-color card, so we can play around with that. Or we could just end up cutting it, we'll see. I guess I should actually read Dire Strain Rampage this time. Destroy an artifact, enchantment, or land. If a land was destroyed this way, its controller may search for up to 2 basics. Shuffle, put them on the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, its controller may search their library for a basic. So destroy an artifact or enchantment, and then they get a basic out of it. That seems really bad. But I guess I'll put it in the sideboard and pretend I'm playing best 2 out of 3. Parallel Lives and Efreet Flame Painter both do stone cold nothing in this deck, and I'm a little sad to see the Kami War and Tiamat in this draft pod. It seems like the general meta has really shifted away from the 5-color decks near the end of this Chromatic Cube. Everybody got their 5-color good stuff out of their system early on. Probably not playing Godfar's Gift, but I'm definitely not playing Ravenous Squirrel or the Red-White Triome. Maybe playing Combustible Gearhulk, but that seems like another probably not. I guess our curve is high enough that Combustible Gearhulk might threaten a lot of damage if our opponent chooses to not let us draw the cards. Wow, we wield Professional Facebreaker. I will definitely play that card. Definitely. Electrolyze is going to be last pick here, because I'm going to take the random green-red duel. Not super excited to run it, but because I only have a Fabled Passage otherwise for mana fixing, I probably should play the just always tapped red-green duel. Alright, so here's the deck. We get to cut 6 cards out of here. We've got a ton of just big, beefy creatures in here. Pretty solid curve of some nice, cheap, aggressive creatures as well. A little bit of flexibility going on. 19 creatures, 10 non-creatures, so we can cut a few of each. Looking at our non-creatures here. Eater of Virtue probably isn't actually that good in this deck. We did pick this up pretty late in the draft in one of the packs. I think our creatures are already just in green-red going to be perfectly big. We don't really need the extra +2/+0, and we're not getting any of the extra abilities off this either. It's not really synergizing with the deck. Plus we have to play off curve to do it. We can't play a 5-drop on turn 5 and spend the mana to equip that same turn, so... Don't love the equipment in here. Electrostatic Blast also didn't pan out particularly well in this deck. We're not going to have a lot of instants and sorceries in here. We'll have a few, so we might cut that. I'm going to keep that in the maybe for now, though, because we don't have a ton of removal. I guess we do have Lightning Bolt and Domri and Perforos's Intervention even without that. And then we also have Kogla the Titan Ape, and Enter the Battlefield Fight, Reclamation Sage, Enter the Battlefield, blow up a Artifact or Enchantment. Yeah, we can probably cut this Electrostatic Blast. And then Giant Regrowth seems a bit slow. Maze Mind Tome might be a bit slow too. But again, not a ton going on turn 1, turn 2. So that fills out a good slot there. But with Giant Regrowth, we're probably not playing it till late game, but we have a ton of just good late game 2-for-1s and stuff to do. We don't really need a Regrowth. Seems slow. Beast Whisperer also seems slow. 4 mana for a 2/3, and then you're drawing cards on the next creatures you're playing. I wish I had that Cabaret Rebels, but I don't remember what I took over it. I think it was Rahilda or something like that. So it was like really hard to take the Cabaret Rebels there. But yeah, Cabaret Rebels is just way better than Beast Whisperer. Cut some of these late game creatures, I guess. We still need to cut 2 cards. We could cut Reclamation Sage, though we're not main decking Artifact Enchantment removal, but we have Fauna Shaman too. I guess I could cut Fauna Shaman and Reclamation Sage, but I don't want to cut Fauna Shaman. I know Fauna Shaman's probably not actually that good. I really like that card. I just think it's neat. I enjoy it. I'm going to play it even if it's not the best thing to play. Disciple's been messing me up a little bit as of late. Shoving a bunch of Lightning Bolts in your deck sounds really cool, but sometimes it can be a problem because you start doing it on turn 3. So if you're a deck like this where you want to make it to these really high mana costs and all of a sudden you're not ruining, but you're messing with your land count. All of a sudden now, instead of turn 10, if you have only drawn, or turn 3, you'll have drawn 10 cards out of the 40 in your deck. If you've only drawn 3 lands at that point, probably have 14 still left in your deck. So you have 14 lands and 16 non-lands. So you have like a 50-50. But then all of a sudden you start attacking with this thing, and now you've got 14 lands and 20 non-lands. So you're like really upping your likelihood of not drawing a land. So Toralf's Disciple actually gets really wacky, really rough in these kind of decks where I have a ton of 5-6 mana cards. So I actually don't think I want Toralf's Disciple here because I think it just messes up. We can't, like, if we try to just slam this out turn 3 and shove our deck full of Lightning Bolts, that can mess us up a lot because then these cards are really dead draws and we're just not drawing as many lands. So I'm going to get rid of Toralf's Disciple there. 17 creatures, 7 non-creatures right now. We have a lot of big stuff, and we don't have a lot of ramp. We do have Beanstalk Giant being able to do Fertile Footsteps, and we have Llanowar Elf, so we kind of have 2 ramp cards. Tireless Provisioner, maybe if we get lucky, can make a lot of treasure tokens. Domri does ramp as well. We have a little bit of ramp. I don't know if we have enough ramp for the Big Pig, for the 8-drop. But for this Mountain of 5s and 6, we're probably fine. I could see cutting Enrace Forerunners here as the final cut. A little difficult to make it to 8 mana here. I think that's what I'll do. Alright, here we are with the completed deck list, the final deck list of the Chromatic Cube, the finale to it all. This is just going to be a green-red aggro deck. We just got a bunch of beat sticks in here. Tons of just big 5 and 6 drop creatures like Cavalier Thorns, Ashaya, God Eternal Runos, Siege Gang Commander, being an army in a can, Kogla and Combustible Gear Hulk being huge enter the battlefield effects and huge creatures all in one. Beanstalk Giant is going to be ramping into itself with Fertile Footsteps. And yeah, just a bunch of big late game creatures like that. Lots of ways to fight with them with Kogla's enter the battlefield effect, Domri's -2 ability to try to keep the board clear. And for our 2-drops and 3-drops, we just have a bunch of really powerful value kind of creatures like Professional Facebreaker letting us draw extra cards, Reclamation Sage maybe blowing up an opposing card, Tireless Provisioner helping us get all those treasure tokens, Rada drawing us extra cards as well, Robber the Rich and Rahilda potentially drawing cards out of our opponent's deck. Lots of great value plays in the early game, and then just big game-ending creatures in the late game. Seems like a pretty solid Gruul Beats deck, so we'll see how it plays as we head into round 1. Alright, opponents on the play here. Solid 3-drops to get things started. Pretty cool with this hand. Green, white, and blue from our opponent, and a turn 2 Kinnan. Bonder Prodigy. Going to imagine our opponent is playing a pretty multicolored deck here with a lot of mana dorks. Let's drop our Professional Facebreaker first, then we'll drop Domri and attempt to fight Kinnan out of here. They're now green, white, blue, and red, so I am guessing we are up against the 5-color deck here. Another blue-red land into a Firemind Vessel. Well, Reclamation Sage looking pretty spicy here. And I might play that instead of Domri now. I think I will. I should pop this Fabled Passage. I don't want to draw any more lands at this point. We've got 6. Our most expensive card costs 6, so let's just grab our second red source in their end step, rather than waiting longer. Rashmi, Eternity's Crafter, being a big draw spell. Whenever they cast their first spell each turn, reveal the top card of the library. If it costs less mana value, they get to cast it, and if not, they get to put it in their hand. So Rashmi's a pretty big card to blow up here. They're going to bolt in the upkeep. The hard reads. Well, let's see what the top card of our library is. Hopefully it's just a land here. Lightning bolts. Okay, well that's not bad. Rashmi's already triggered, so it doesn't matter if we lightning bolt right now. Wow, they draw into the Great Henge. That's a problem. Okay. Ooh, Robber of the Rich is the draw. None of our creatures are big enough to fight either of theirs and survive anymore. So I don't think we're doing any fighting. I think we're just Lightning Bolts. Lightning Bolt, Domri, Robber, maybe? Just attacking.
Call it anarchy. For me?
I guess I could just trade a Reclamation Sage off into a Kinnan. Yeah, that's not the end of the world. I might not have to minus Domri to do that though, so let's get the attack off first. Okay. I was gonna say, and then if I have to minus Domri to do that, then that's fine, because I also just got some extra damage in the process. Just get that board clear. Makes it real hard to cast the Great Hench. It's going to cost the full 9 mana now. Menagerie Curator is the play. Ashaya is our draw. We can play Ashaya and Robber of the Rich. Zariel gives haste to everybody, but Zariel costs 4, so can't play that alongside Ashaya or anything. Make a Devil. I think I'm just Robber of the Rich Ashaya here. Ashaya will not have haste, so I might as well wait till post-combat here. Oh, I guess I get to exile the card if I play Ashaya first. So I missed a card draw.
We won't answer the
I always forget if it's... You have to be less or tied. You have to be less for Robber of the Rich to draw cards. Helena and Elena, partners. Not cool. Definitely need to kill them. God Eternal Ronas is actually insanely big here. I'm just gonna go for that. The board's got Vigilance and they have to make some chumps. I guess they get to trade with Robber. Because of Helena and Elena's first strike, do we want to fight with Domri here? Oh, they're just going to scoop them up. They don't like the 29 Ashaya here. I think we have to sack Domri here. I think the plan is to sacrifice Domri so that we can kill Helena and Elena with our God Eternal Ronas. And that makes it so Robber of the Rich gets to attack in here too, because otherwise the first strike just shoots our Robber down. So we attack both, they chump there, take 6, we draw a card off the top of their library. Solid stuff from our deck there. Definitely made some misplays, but our deck still did some explosive stuff to take the victory. Alright, here we are now in game 2. Incredible 3 drops as usual. Fable of the Mirror Breaker and Domri in this hand. Opponent starts with Zayator's Proving Ground. Red, green, and black Triome. And then there's a black-red land, the Dragon Skull Summit into Robber of the Rich. I'm going to blow the actual heck out of that card up. Deal twice 1, that will be 2. With Perforos's Intervention. Cultivator's Caravan is their turn 3 play. We'll drop our Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Get our Goblin token. I forgot the Goblin makes treasures too? This card's actually nuts. They immediately blow up the Goblin with the Lightning Bolt here. Polukranos is their next play. Big old 6/6. Every time it's dealt damage, remove that many counters from it. They get to crew the Caravan, send in for 5. We're getting hit pretty hard here. Definitely looking to draw some quicker cards than what we have here, so discard Cavalier for sure. Domri's also not going to be good on an empty board, but Domri could be good later. I'm probably discarding a 5-drop in this land. Get a land and a Llanowar Elves. That is still not ideal. Fabled Passage for our second green source, so we get to cast Llanowar Elves and Domri. Nothing good to fight. We'll just buff Domri. And now hopefully this just means all of their damage goes to Domri this turn. They use Pelucranos to fight Llanowelfs, then attack Domri. Oh no, we are so dead. A 6/6 and a 5/5 are going to be coming at our face here. One at us, one at Domri. I guess we get to protect Domri here. I feel like we might as well, because Domri's going to give us the mana that Llanowelfs would have anyway. Maybe it's better to make Pelucranos weaker and drop a Siege Gang. Siege Gang is actually insane with Fable the Mirror Breaker. Siege Gang, Fable the Mirror Breaker. But the Fable doesn't have haste, does it? This doesn't have haste, so we don't get to make a copy of a Siege Gang next turn. God, but I want to so bad. Yeah, Domri's also pretty great with Siege Gang, so let's keep Domri out then. Combustible Gearhulk is the draw. And we're definitely on Siege Gang Commander here. Make Pelucranos smaller, I guess. Sacking a Goblin. They're just gonna have Pelucranos fight the Kiki-Jiki or the Siege Gang, though.
Oh, have at it, boys.
If Reflection of Kiki-Jiki had haste, we would be through the moon here, because we'd have double Siege Gang Commander, which would be 6 Goblin tokens. Still definitely survive this turn. And then Combustible Gearhulk's gonna be really big if our Domri's still on the board. Although I guess we need to draw another land to be able to play Gearhulk and fight with Domri. I would be incredibly surprised if they don't blow up Reflection of Kiki-Jiki before we untap. But I guess blowing up Siege Gang Commander accomplishes the same thing. They just blow something up before we untap. Rada does not get trample, I believe. Yeah, so I mean we have to block Rada to not die. Double block Pelucranos here. Makes Pelucranos die if Pelucranos fights one of our other cards. Yep, Pelucranos is now a 2/2. They're going to get rid of Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, which means Pelucranos is also gone, and they need a lot of cards in graveyard to escape that. 6 other cards? Yeah, Pelucranos is just gone for good for now. Alright, now we can Gearhulk and fight Rada. And I feel we've got a pretty good board position here now. Choose to take the damage, just take 11 to the face, you're welcome. We do need to be worried about blocking this 5/5, kind of. But it has to be 5/5 plus Lightning Bolts. They need to play a creature with at least 3 power to crew Cultivator's Caravan. And get rid of Combustible Gearhulk. And do an extra 2 damage to us to kill us. They're just going to scoop them up. Turn things right around there. With the Siege Gang Commander with the Domri on board to have enough power to really whittle down that Pelucranos. And then just drop a big old Gearhulk. Mill enough damage of cards to threaten lethal in 2 turns. We'll get there for 2-0. Pretty lucky stuff off the Gearhulk, but I do think we were getting into a stable board position there where we were heading into the lead even if they were still at 20. Alright. A lot of mana in this hand, but wrapping into Ashaya is fun. We've got that Perforos's Intervention for some interaction. I will keep the hand. Opponent is a Lutri the Spell Chaser deck. Out of all of the companions, Lutri says the least about their deck, because it's just a free companion for any deck in blue or red. It doesn't really need to work with your deck for it to be a good card, because you can always play it. That being said, if they have Lutri as a companion and they start playing Islands and Mountains, they are probably playing the blue-red spells deck, which makes a lot of sense. For mana, Ral, Storm's Conduit, massive problem. I'm just going to tap out to deal 6 damage to Ral, because if not, Ral absolutely pops off. Being able to spend all of your mana into a very big instant or sorcery and copy it without dumping any extra mana into making the copy is just an incredibly powerful effect in this cube. So I'm going to spend all of my mana to have Perforos's Intervention deal 6 damage to Ral this turn. Rather than play my own Zerial and set my own board state up, I'm just going to make sure that I do not die to that. Ral popping off. Card is one of the most explosive things in this cube. Draw a card off the clue here. And drop a Search for Azcanta. Pass the turn. 5 mana for us now. We can Cavalier of Thorns or Ashaya. They're both pretty much the same thing, but Cavalier might ramp us up a little bit. It's better if they toss removal at Cavalier than if they toss removal at Ashaya as well. Mill a bunch of solid creatures, unfortunately. Multiple choice. Pretty powerful card. We're going to return our Llanowar Elves to hand here. They're going to get a 4/4 scry 1 draw a card and force us to bounce the Llanowar Elves. Okay, Rahilda's the draw. 6 mana here. We can drop Zerial and Rahilda, or we can drop one of our 6 drops and Llanowar Elves. We're definitely attacking with Cavalier of Thorns. If I Zerial, am I going to do the +1 for haste here? No, Rahilda still won't be big enough to attack into the 4/4. So I think if I Zerial, I'm just going to make a devil anyway. So let's just get our attack out of the way and see what they want to do here. Probably no blocks, but maybe they wanted to chump with the crab or something. So Ashaya Llanowar Elves, Siege Gang Llanowar Elves, Zerial Rahilda. I think I want to just keep making big creatures right now. So Ashaya for 1 big creature, and then Llanowar Elves alongside it. And they pass turn holding 6 mana up for Sublime Epiphany. And we're definitely not casting anything until we absolutely have to. So we just attack with a 10/10 Ashaya and a Cavalier of Thorns. How bad even is Sublime Epiphany for us if that's what they're holding up? Pretty bad. Guess if we just play Rahilda, it's kind of whatever. They bounce something, get a clone, draw a card. So just get another 4/4 and draw a card, bounce our Ashaya. I'm gonna test the waters with Rahilda here. Oh no, Sublime Epiphany, who would have guessed? Alright, so Siege Gang Commander's free to hit the board. Am I at all worried about a Wrath? There's only one in blue-red, I think. Burn on the house. Yeah, I don't think I'm worried enough about a Wrath to not just cast Siege Gang here. Electro Dominance, the Siege Gang, drop a 5-drop for free. Zerial might be lethal here, giving our whole board +1/+0. Next turn, if they don't play another big creature here, they played another big creature here. That is one we desperately need to kill as well. Oh hey Kogla, you can kill that. You know what? Don't tap the Llanowar Elves. We're not going to play Zerial this turn. Keep the Llanowar Elves so we can use Kogla's ability. Return a human? I don't think we control a human though, so I guess we can't use Kogla's ability. They have to block there and there. I guess they have to block the 11/11 for sure. If I attack with everybody, they can block the 11/11 and a 1/1 take 5, 6, 7, 8. Kill our Llanowar Elves. Puts them to 2 life. I think it's worth it to lose Llanowar Elves here. Put them to 2. Ooh, Beanstalk Giants. Test the waters here again. The waters may be fine. Very lethal.
Will turn
Hopefully.
to cowards. Which are you?
Is this Magma Opus? They just Sublime Epiphany into Magma Opus here? They totally did. Good lord. We can't do anything with the mana that we tapped these for anyway, so just let it all happen.
Your soul will serve my leader. Unleash your ferocity.
They kill Zerial by attacking with both of those. They have to block Cavalier. They could single block though. Siege Gang is straight lethal if they double block, so we double block, put Siege Gang on top of our deck, and they need a counter spell where they're incredibly dead. Like, we actually want Cavalier to die here because we want its death trigger. Siege Gang, is there anything else that's immediate lethal? No, this doesn't deal damage to player, the intervention. So, Siege Gang Commander on top. If Siege Gang resolves, they're dead. And they still have to do something to survive the on-board lethal as well. Big score is the play. Discard a card to draw 2 and get 2 treasure tokens. Six mana up again. Torrential Gearhulk would do it. But they do not have the Gearhulk. And say if they get Torrential Gearhulk, the reason it would do it is they would pass. We would I guess we could play around Torrential Gear Hulk, because we could wait to Siege Gang post-combat, and they would have to cast Torrential Gear Hulk when we go for the attack. Or they're still dead on board to just attacking with 2 creatures. But theoretically, Torrential Gear Hulk, they get to Sublime Epiphany to counter our Siege Gang and make a copy of the Gear Hulk, and the copy of the Gear Hulk copies Magma Opus as well. And they just absolutely just do insane things. But definitely very happy not to see the Gear Hulk there. But I think if they did have it, I think technically we could have just went straight to combat, because they'd only have 1 4/4 out, which would force them to cast Gear Hulk when we try to make the attack. Which would then mean they could not have the counterspell up for our Siege Gang post-combat, but they could use Magma Opus to tap a couple of our lands and still survive another turn? Maybe? Don't know how much mana we had. That would have been interesting to see if they did, but again, probably better for me that they didn't. Because I doubt I would have found the line that that still kills them that turn through a Torrential Gear Hulk. If there was one. So here we are now in round 4. We are 3-0 so far, and we've got a turn 2 Robber the Rich here. Super, super solid start. However, we are on the draw, so a little slower than Magical Christmas Land, but still pretty good. Just not the actual dream. Well, this might get whatever the white-black removal is called cast on it. There's a lot of different ones. I'm thinking of the white and black exile a mono-colored card. I don't remember its name. I do remember D-Spark, exile a 4 mana or greater card for a white and a black. Brutal Cathar, that works too. Good old white and all your 2-for-1 removal spells. Exile and get a threatening body out. Guess it's only threatening during the night. Can only play 1 card this turn. I think it's gotta just be Rahilda. We're not making the most of our mana this turn, but next turn we can, because we can play Domri or Beanstalk Giant and Maze Mind Tome. What have you got, opponent? They have 6 cards in hand, 2 plains and a swamp. Play an Endatha Triome, white, black, and green Triome. They're going to let the Moonrage Brute flip, which lets Rahilda flip as well, which is kind of exciting. So for Perforos's Intervention, we need to spend 3 mana on it. We can't play Perforos's Intervention and another spell this turn. I think we just Perforos's Intervention and try to get a real good Rahilda Robber the Rich attack going here, but they've held 3 mana up, so I doubt it plays perfectly in our favor. I guess if we just play Domri, Rahilda trades into Moonrage Brute. It's a little sketchy. If they have a way to blow up Domri, then this sucks. So please don't have a way to blow up Domri. I can't think of one for white, white, black. Okay. Yeah, they just have a way to blow up a creature. Alright. Well, we'll double spell here to flip Brute back, so it only hits Domri for 2. And we'll start scrying with our Maze Mind Tome. They are going to hit Domri for 2.
Oh, look at you.
And then God Eternal Oketra. A threat? Alright, we'll scry a Forest to the bottom. I need some outs here. Lightning Bolt is a phenomenal one. Lightning Bolt to get Robber of the Rich back, and then I can Perforos's Intervention, the God Eternal Oketra, and attack with Robber of the Rich. Yes. Yes, I can. A red and 3.
The only authority that I recognize.
Just not deal with God Eternal Oketra for a few turns here. They will redraw her, but that'll be in a little while. The ability of the gods from War of the Spark to just go right back into their library, way more threatening in regular limited. In Cube, it's like, I still put them down a card because they have to spend another draw step to draw God Eternal Oketra again, so even if God Eternal Oketra just went right on top of their library, it still wouldn't be that bad for me, because they have to spend a full 5 mana, spend their whole next turn recasting her. In regular limited, it's like God Eternal Oketra, all of the mythic rare gods are just so much stronger than your average common and uncommon that, yeah, it does really suck. They're just going to redraw them again later, but it really doesn't feel that bad in Chromatic Cube when you know God Eternal Oketra is just going to come right back. It's like, all right, I'll just deal with it again if I can, or play equally powerful cards because we're in a cube. We're in a cube draft here. Get out of here, Mountain. Mountain number 2 it is. Escape to the wilds and see what we're drawing. 3 more lands. Professional Facebreaker and Ashaya. I've already played 1 land this turn. We'll play our 2nd land per turn. And I guess we'll draw a card off Maze Mind Tome here.
What's that? Something smells rotten. Wait, that might be me.
That was a pretty great voice line from Domri. What's that? Something smells rotten. Wait, that might be me. Slam down God Eternal Oketra. We slam down Ashaya and -2 Domri. No, Key to the Archive is the play. Please don't time warp me. I am tired of getting time warped from Key to the Archive. Although I guess it doesn't matter if they time warp here. They don't exactly have anything massive to do through a time warp. Honestly, just like 1-for-1 removal would probably be worse for me. Reclamation Sage to blow up their Key to the Archives before they can tap it for the double blue they need for Time Warp if they did draw Time Warp is hilarious. However, I should play these cards from exile before they go away forever, so I'm not going to do that. Maybe it's a Wrath. Maybe that's their plan. If it is a Wrath, then blowing up their Key to the Archive wouldn't do anything because they're already a white-black deck anyway. Yeah, it's a Wrath, so they could have cast that anyway. Even if we blew up the key. And it also doesn't matter that they blew up 2 of our cards because those cards were just going to get exiled in our end step anyway if we didn't play them. I am not going to scry anymore. I'm going to try to get max value out of the tome at this point. We've got plenty of stuff to still play right now. So we go Rada and see if we get some value of playing cards off the top. And then I do think we probably blow up the Key to the Archives here. Yes, play that off the top. Blow up the Key to the Archives. And our board state is just wide again to threaten for a lot of damage here. Exile Domri, alright. Sure.
No, you haven't seen the last of me.
Wasn't going to do anything with Domri this turn anyway, but not letting us have 1 additional power on our creatures is a little sad. If I play Land Warps, I don't get to draw off Maze Mind Tome this turn, so I'm not going to. So now they just have God Eternal Oketra over there. We just get to attack with Rada, and they're forced to block. So they have to chump block Rada or go to like 5 life. I think we've got this on lock here, but you never know in Chromatic Cube. There are some really, really powerful cards they could draw into. Oh, hey, Kogla. Make things even simpler. Just fight God Eternal Oketra, and they're going to scoop them up. To be completely fair, I mean, Kogla was Kogla was a good top deck. That's got to be really annoying for our opponent. I can understand the insta-scoop, but to be completely fair, like, if we didn't top deck Kogla, we're still on board attacking with a 3... Attacking with an 11-11 Rada. They're kind of just forced into the chump anyway. So I don't even know if we should have cast Kogla there. Don't think it was necessary. But it's probably a better board state to do so. Alright, here we are now, round 5. We are on the play again. Rahilda for turn 2. Seems like a pretty good way to start a game. Even have the tap land to play turn 1, so we don't have to take the downside of not playing a 3-drop turn 3 or any of that stuff. Fingers crossed, no removal turn 2 from our opponent. Could be a lightning bolt here. No lightning bolt, no play there, so Rahilda's just gonna really hit here. The double strike, draw 2 cards out of their deck, draw an Electrolyze, draw on to search for his content. How do we play these? During any turn you attacked with a wolf or werewolf, we can cast these. I don't have anything else to cast, so I might as well play one. Search for his content is not actually insane in our deck. Electrolyze seems fine. 2 to them, draw a card here. Give us something to do turn 3. And then Baron Talarian Archmage gets to bounce Rahilda here, sad day. But Rahilda's still not dead. We do get to recast her. I think I will recast her and blow up Baron, which will flip back to day, but they're blue, red, and white. They can probably double spell soon enough anyway. Or just blow up Rahilda, just do 2 damage to her. Yep, Narset of the Ancient Way can definitely blow up a Rahilda. Draw a card and discard a card that costs at least 2 mana to blow her up. And she is gone. Siege Gang Commander or Escape to the Wilds here. Keep getting threats out. Get the Siege Gang first. We can escape as our last play to refuel when we have nothing left to do. Combustible Gearhulk's gonna be big here. We've hit somebody for 11 off of Gearhulk before, so... I forgot Narset gets to gain 2 life every turn. It's pretty annoying. Probably gonna just attack Narset for lethal here. Two mana up. Lightning Helix the Siege Gang, gain a bunch of life. We can still attack Narset for lethal, so that is what I will do. And then we play Gearhulk, I guess. Makes the most of our mana. But now they probably just take the damage here, and it's not likely to matter that much. Them being at 17 now, they've gained so much. No, they're gonna let us draw the cards. Oh my god, and it's good that they did. Wow, what lucky hits. 7, 8, 9, 10. We would have hit them to 2 life if they milled these cards. But if we draw these cards, then now we've just got a bunch more threats to play. So yeah, Combustible Gearhulk put in some work there. That was a really lucky hit. Flips to Night. Not that it matters. So what do we do now? With our 6 mana, we can cast a Domri. Rather they not counter it. So is there anything I can play first to draw out their counter spell? We're gonna go Robber of the Rich Domri here, probably. Seems solid to me. They don't have the mana for Sublime Epiphany, but they do have the mana for Spell Swindle. Alright, so Domri resolves, and we hit for 1,000,000. Unless they have a 2 mana counter. I can't think of one though. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 now. Excellent stuff. They're going to scoop them up. They are not okay with the Domri to buff all the goblins there. Put them down to like 5-ish life. 5-0 here with our Gruul Beatsticks deck. Seems like a pretty solid finale to the Chromatic Cube drafts. Whatever happens from this point on, we have broken even. We've got 4,000 gold back out of the event we paid 4,000 gold for, and we got our 3 extra rares. I guess not rares, but random cards. Uncommon to rare. Okay, we are on the play again in round 6 with a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, turn 3. The card is nuts. It's even better than I thought it was. I didn't even realize the goblin attacks and makes treasures every time it attacks, which is bonkers. We've drawn into our turn 2 Robber of the Rich, which is also a nuts card. We hit their Nightclub Bouncer. That'll be incredible if we still have a rogue out by turn 4. Doesn't seem super likely here. We see blue and black from our opponent with Lutri in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in their hand. We've got 5. Yeah, we can just attack here. With Lutri in their companion slot, they're probably Grixis, and they are. Lightning Bolt is what we hit here. Lightning Bolt's another great hit. I would rather play Fable of the Mirror Breaker than Rahilda, but Rahilda is also very powerful. Alright, Grixis mana here. All 3 colors set up for our opponent. If our opponent casts a Nicol Bolas and we still win, I'll be sad because I'm always Team Bolas. If they play Grixis and they don't cast Nicol Bolas, then I really want to win. Gotta be Bolas if you're Grixis.
Today I craft my victory.
Saheeli is the play to let them start getting 1/1s as they cast non-creature spells. Try to get some of this damage to go that way, I suppose. We know we have a Nightclub Bouncer and a Lightning Bolt we can cast. So if I hit Saheeli for 1, I can Lightning Bolt her and finish. Or if I hit her for 2, I can Lightning Bolt and finish her. So I think I do that. And we've drawn Magmatic Channeler as well. Okay, so I like Rahilda Lightning Bolt here, I think.
Time to come up with a new plan.
Do I spend this treasure to get more aggro? I don't think so. Magmatic Channeler, it's a 1/3. It's not really getting more aggro. I'd rather save the treasure to maybe get Kogla out next turn. Multiple choice, just for a 4/4 blocker. We know we can Nightclub Bouncer at instant speed, so we attack all and then just cast their Nightclub Bouncer here. And bounce their token, which just kills it. Incredible hits off Robber of the Rich. And we hit their Nicol Bolas? I will trade this treasure for a permanent mana if they don't Wrath us. I'm not going to be able to cast this Nicol Bolas, because either they will die before we can cast Nicol Bolas, or our Rahilda will die before we can cast Nicol Bolas. Alright. Well, I have much respect for our opponent. They were the Grixis Nicol Bolas deck, so do feel a little rude winning that one, but it is what it is. I wish I could have cast the Bolas. That would have been super fun. Either way, just ridiculous work put in by the Robber of the Rich that game. Robber of the Rich and Rahilda, 2 of the best 2-drops in this whole cube. Just monstrously good cards. Will take us all the way to a 6-0 run here, heading into what may be the final run for a second 7-0 in a row. See if we can do the repeat here. Opponent is on the play this time, so we don't have that aggressive benefit in our favor, but we do have our best turn 2 play, that Robber of the Rich. Actually pretty tied for Rahilda. Rahilda's also an insane turn 2 play. Opponent starts with double Swamp here though, so I wouldn't be surprised if they can blow up this Robber pretty soon. If not immediately. Probably go Professional Facebreaker next turn. Cultivator's Caravan, well they can't blow it up yet. Yeah, I like Facebreaker. Start getting treasure tokens to either ramp into our big plays early or draw us extra cards. Our opponent's been doing a good job just emptying their hand quick enough. that Robber the Rich isn't drawing us any cards, but it's also since they are on the play, they just start with one less card. So it makes it harder for us to get those Robber the Rich triggers this early. Yawgmoth is the play. I really want to kill that, but we don't have any removal for it right now. It's going to be a really big problem. It's also just protection from humans, which is our whole board right now. But Professional Facebreaker has Menace at least. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is our draw. So nothing we have can blow up Yawgmoth. We can play Fable and Maze Mine Tome. We can play Cavalier of Thorns. We could hit with Facebreaker and get a token. Probably hit with Facebreaker, get another treasure, and then just cast Cavalier of Thorns, I'm guessing. Is our best line. I think so. Just get a big non-human creature to push in on that Yawgmoth. Milled a Siege Gang, a Kogla, and Perforos's Intervention. Really sad to mill Kogla. That would have been great. Get a mountain because I've got a third forest in hand here. Well, at least this way, if Cavalier of Thorns dies, we just put a Kogla on top of our deck, which is pretty good. So now it's like Cavalier of Thorns is big enough, they kind of have to throw removal at it or trade a creature off into it, and then if they do, then we know we get to draw Kogla next turn, which is a massive draw. Just puts another even bigger threat onto the board while getting rid of their best blocker. Maybe even blowing up their Cultivator's Caravan, because we do have 2 humans on the board here, which means if we can get Kogla back, we can give Kogla indestructible. We can return those humans. Now, if Cavalier doesn't die, if Professional Facebreaker dies instead, then I guess we just get to play Kranko and Fable of the Mirror Breaker this turn. Just start slapping down some goblins. Electro Dominance, that is going to kill the Facebreaker. Sack Treasure, exile top card, you can play that card this turn only, so that's pretty bad to do right now. Don't think we have 1 1-mana instant in our deck. We have 1 Lightning Bolt. That is the only card we could hit that Facebreaker would work for here right now. Ooh, and a free Rankle. That would be disgusting if Cavalier didn't have Reach, but it's still pretty good. So now... do we even send in the Cavalier anymore? I guess Robber of the Rich has Reach. I can just Trump block. It's also not that bad if Rankle hits us, because we'll have expendable creatures to sack. Yeah, I think I'm on Fable Kranko. Just attack with Cavalier here. They can do a double block, but that won't be enough damage to kill Cavalier anyway. So we just hit pretty hard. Cool, hit them down to 9. And then we just slam down some goblins. Make the board state even bigger. Yeah, I'm actually really okay with Rankle hitting us, because they can't really just be like, let's each sack a creature right now, because they have 2 creatures, both are pretty important. So what are they going to do? Have us both draw a card? I guess it's probably a little better for them than us, because they need to really up their board state right now. Whereas we're cool with the status quo. Yeah, I mean, that's not that big of a deal if we both draw a card off Rankle. Guess we'll see what they play from their hand. That's going to be the biggest deal, is what are those mystery cards in hand. Board state feels pretty in our favor. I'm going to crew the Caravan here to slap us for 5. I'm very okay with that. Go on ahead. Down to 15. Cavalier of Night to sacrifice the Caravan to blow up any one of our creatures. Probably not Cavalier, would be my suggestion. They are going to blow up the Cavalier, though. Alright, Kogla's our play this turn. Kogla's going to do some nasty things. Cavalier of Night, they have no creatures with mana value 3 or less in their grave, so we just play Kogla, kill Cavalier. I actually do want this forest here, so I'm not going to discard any cards, because I want to be able to use Kogla's ability for Indestructible here if something goes wrong, if I didn't see a line they have. But yeah, I mean, we just kill Cavalier now. I guess they can sack it to draw a card, but if they do, they don't gain the life off the fight. Alright, cool. Now we've got the 2 mana to return our Robber of the Rich and save Kogla whenever we want, which means we can block Rankle and return for free. We can attack with Krenko. Krenko becomes a 2/3. So they have to sacrifice... They can sacrifice Rankle to kill Krenko, because they can sack Rankle, make Krenko 2 toughness again, and block with Yawgmoth. So yes, sack Rankle to trade up into Krenko, I guess, is their play here. Which is fine. Yeah, I guess I'm just not going to attack here. It does seem like a pretty solid thing they could do. I don't want to let them. Again, I think I'm just letting Rankle hit us, even though I could do the free block by blocking with Robber and bouncing it for Kogla. I guess if they tap out, I'll do that. If they didn't tap out, though, I would rather always have that mana up to save Kogla if something disastrous happened. Chainer's really bad for us, actually. Discard a card that can cast a creature from their grave this turn. They can recast the Cavalier of Night. Chainer's immensely bad for us. Are we cool? What are they even going to do here? Each player discards a card. We discard our Mazemind Tome. Honestly, that's fine. I don't know. I mean, I'm really not sure here. I guess I might as well do this. I am losing a treasure token to do this, but whatever. They could sack Jadar and Chainer to kill a Robber of the Rich in response with Yawgmoth. That looks like not their plan. Alright, they get a Decayed Zombie. We get a Reclamation Sage, but their artifact is already gone. Chainer's so bad. We need removal. We need it yesterday. I guess we already hit a Kogla, so there was one removal spell. Tome, draw a card, and then Robber Rich. Kogla can no longer get indestructible, though, if we use Tome right now. But I want to see if we can draw Domri or something. This is a little suspicious, or a little sketchy. Rada. Not perfect. Jadar plus Yawgmoth is also deadly. We just need way more interaction in this matchup than we can muster up here. Yeah, Jadar Yawgmoth is -1/-1 counter and draw a card every turn from that Decayed Zombie. This is super bad. Well, we do what we can here and just hit as hard as we can, I guess. They get to make that Decayed Zombie, put in work here, kill one of our things. I think they just have it. Like, their board state has just completely gone off now. Surprised they didn't Yawgmoth in response to Krenko. I'm happy they didn't, because then we actually get some goblins here. But if they did, they could have just nullified our ability to get any goblins. Are they legit jumping with Jadar? Yeah, I will absolutely take this. This gives us a little more of a shot. Still not a big chance, because they can Chainer to cast their Cavalier still. I guess they could Chainer to play their Jadar, which would also be good, but I don't think that's as good as Chainer on... that big card. Okay, I'm gonna play Rada here now. Tireless Provisioner is gonna be the draw. Not great this late in the game. Alright, so Chainer, they can cast one of their cards from their graveyard this turn. Again, Cavalier of Night with Chainer. It's explosive. Okay, Callous Blood Mage is the play. I'll take it. So Chainer Jadar is the plan here. So that they can play Blood Mage and Jadar and have a wide board for a lot of blockers. Guessing that is what is going on here. Is there anything else they can play for 3? No. Yep, Jadar is the play. Gains haste until their next turn. Okay, that doesn't really matter. Make us both sack a creature with Rankle, I guess. Alright, finish off Reflection of Kiki Jiki. With the Pest token. Again, things are bad for us, but they could have been worse, I think. Feel like we still have a minor shot here. See what they want to do with Rankle. Not particularly concerned about any of the abilities here. We have a really easy discard of Rex Sage. We have a really easy sacrifice of just a 1/1 Goblin. Okay, we're going to both draw a card. And they get their Decayed Zombie. So I play a tapped land just to get a card out of the way here, probably, but it's Tireless Provisioner first and get treasure tokens every time I do something, I think. Do I attack first so that Rada's just absolutely massive? Forces a chump here. Yeah, but then they chump with Blood Mage, they can keep playing Blood Mage with Chainer. Oh, Chainer, why are you so bad? So bad for me. Okay, it's just another land on top. Well, we still have 6 mana up for Rada. Until I play Robber of the Rich. Robber of the Rich doesn't even attack in super well here anyway. Okay. Definitely these two. Send in the Goblin Shaman also. And they block there. Block, something like that. I don't think I sent in the Goblin Shaman this time. I hate this Rube Goldberg machine our opponent has set up. All this Chainer, Yawgmoth, Jadar value. I was about to say, I'm like, did we just get to kill Yawgmoth? Because that would actually be massive. If they blocked like that and we get to spend the 6 out of nowhere. They just didn't notice the treasure tokens there, I think. They saw it quick enough to where they saved their Yawgmoth, but I got really excited for a moment. Alright, draw more cards. I mean, I guess they do lose life every time they're doing this. If they get 3 counters onto Rada, it doesn't matter if we buff Rada, Rada will still die when we pass turn. So there's going to be no reason to spend a bunch of mana to save Rada here. Okay, so we play Robber of the Rich and hold up the 2 mana for Kogla, and if we don't use Kogla, we draw a card in their end step. I guess that is our biggest win condition, is the fact that they have to pay a life every time they use Yawgmoth. Which is why Cavalier looks so explosive, is because of the lifelink mainly. That's why I really hope they don't Cavalier out of the grave. Faithless Looting, set up some more cards in grave here, off of a draw 2, discard 2. Discard 2 Swamp, sorry. They might not want to do Cavalier because they were just looking at my Robber the Rich and my Kogla. They might have seen that I have that combo now where I can just save Kogla. But we'll see. Olivia, Crimson Bride. Oh my god. Now they just get Cavalier out for free, tapped and attacking. Which means they're going to gain a bunch of life here. Oh my god, that's disgusting. I guess I do the bounce combo. Block bounce combo. So they don't get their lifelink trigger. No, they target Robber the Rich when this comes into play. That's their best play, so that they know they get the lifelink. Because if they try to blow up Robber the Rich, I can't block and bounce. Yep. God, Olivia's bad here. So bad for us. Moment of truth here. See what they're doing. Blow up Rada, Heart of Keld. Alright, you got it. Negate their lifelink and then just attack with everybody next turn. They have 2 total blockers. 2 blockers, they block a 7/6 and a 3/2, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't lethal them. But draw off Maze Mind Tome, just try to get there. I really think it's our best bet is to just try to lethal them next turn. If each player loses a life and draws a card here, then we actually do have lethal. We hit for 6. Next turn. Okay. So that doesn't happen. We have to draw into something. Drawing a card and scrying is the exact same thing here right now, so we might as well keep these treasure tokens, because if we draw a card, we're putting a mountain into hand when we're already going to play a forest next turn. So it's going to be better for us to scry, so we can keep these treasures in case we need all of that mana next turn. Escape to the Wilds is the draw. We have enough mana that we can cast that and still cast Robber the Rich and hope for an even better draw, especially with Tireless Provisioner giving us a treasure every time we play a land. So Escape to the Wilds here. Zerial. Zerial's huge. We go land, treasure. Land, treasure. Zerial to give the board haste, and then just cast multiple creatures instead of 1 Robber the Rich by casting 2 creatures instead of just 1. We have lethal.
Left and righteous.
Plus everybody's gonna have +1 power, so we'll have well over lethal actually. And then attack all.
Hellfire on them!
And that should be a 7-0 run from the Gruul Monsters deck here. What a draw, the Escape to the Wilds there. Let us dig several cards deep for anything that's going to push us over into lethal territory. They don't have any way to survive. They can kill these 2/1 goblins, but it's going to cost them 1 life apiece, which is going to leave it at still lethal here. still gonna go for it. I guess it depends what they get off of Cavalier. Callous Blood Mage does not gain them life right now. But they can sack a pest and gain a life, but in order to sack a pest and gain a life, they have to... Well, I didn't notice, yeah, Yawgmoth to bring back Blood Mage. If they did that pre-blocks, maybe they survive. But since they've already declared blocks here, they can't survive. I might have not had lethal here had they gone for that pre-blocks, because then they'd have 3 blockers. Or 4 blockers even. But I mean, definitely because they did this after they've already declared blocks. They're just... still just losing more life here. It's probably lethal either way. But yeah, I didn't even see that line, so good on my opponent for finding it, trying to get somewhere off of it. Completely forgot about the secondary effect of the Cavalier. Alright, they're going to -5 right now. Alright, now our opponent has accepted defeat. That is going to be another 7-0 run, 2 in a row, to finish off the Chromatic Cube drafts. Some massive stuff to end the format. Really fun games, really fun decks. Green red beats, green red monsters. Absolutely love Rahilda and Robert the Rich, 2 of the best 2-mana red drops honestly ever printed, I would say. Those were huge ways to start the game. We didn't get to do anything with our Fauna Shaman, unfortunately, but I do like that card. Rada was great, drawing cards at the top. Professional Facebreaker was great for the treasures and the potential card draw. Fable the Mirror Breaker was an absolute house every time. Domri and Zerial were both phenomenal planeswalkers. Escape to the Wilds for that huge card draw was great. Kogla, Combustible Gearhulk, big late game monsters, massive game enders with huge enter the battlefield effects were phenomenal. Pretty much everything in the deck, almost everything in the deck, really did its job, really got to shine. We played a lot of Maze Mind Tomes and they were giving us some consistent value, so that card was solid too. Great stuff from pretty much everything in the deck. Happy with the run overall. Happy with the Chromatic Cube drafts this time around. Had a lot of fun with them. But I am ready for a new draft format, and that is what we are getting tomorrow. So thanks to Wizards of the Coast, I have been invited to the early access event again. This time it is going to be the early access event for Alchemy Horizons Battle for Baldur's Gate, which is going to be a draftable alchemy set for the very first time ever. Even if you're not particularly interested in alchemy, if you're just interested in drafting like I am, I don't really care about the constructed formats at all, then there's a lot of stuff for you here. So I'm pretty excited for the format. I really want to see how it plays out, but it's got a lot of just Baldur's Gate themed Magic cards in general. Not everything in the set is something that's a specific mechanic just for alchemy. There are plenty of cards in the set that could work in a regular constructed set. It's basically not all of the cards, but it's the cards from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate, except they've taken out all of the cards from that set that would only work for multiplayer, and they've swapped those cards out for alchemy cards. But a lot of the cards that are from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate that work in 1v1 are just still in the set there. So it's an alchemy set, it's a draft set, and it is a Baldur's Gate Dungeons & Dragons kind of flavored set. All in one, so some cool stuff there. Very excited to see how the draft format plays, and yeah, I will see you all then tomorrow for my very first draft of Battle for Baldur's Gate. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again for some more Magic Arena tomorrow.